Volume up. Now I can do it because now I've got my audio actually turned up. Sorry folks, you couldn't hear us there. My name is Andy Van Beber. Welcome to the Voice of Reason. I'm joined by Travis Kirkendall, Alex Ellison, newly re-elected Pike County prostituting. Wow. Prosecuting
So
attorney.
that's what's going on, huh?
Yeah. Congratulations, Alex. Welcome to the show. Are you muted again? I think he's. I
Yeah.
can't. Huh? Yeah, we can hear you now. I think. No. Yep.
Okay.
There we go.
There we go.
So tell us a little bit about election night. What all went into this reelection campaign? You said you've told us you ran unopposed. Is that common for Pike County, or is that just, hey, this is a job for anybody who wants to be punished to do it?
Yeah. It's pretty common for Pike County. I don't think there was a single contested election on the November ballot in Pike County, other than the wide race.
Yeah.
So, at least in Pike County, if there are contested races, they take place in the primary,
Right.
not in the general.
Right.
In particular, Republican primary.
Yeah.
And so, no, but I was lucky. I didn't have a primary opponent either. So I think in general, this job is one most people don't want.
Well, we can't go into details, but hey, thanks for cleaning up Louisiana City Police Department. We appreciate that, and we'll leave it at that. How are the children? They're doing good.
Yeah, they're great. We actually had a little bit of a tantrum tonight before bed, but
Yes.
with a 2.5-year-old, that's going to happen.
Yes, it is.
When I just said they're great, Lauren smirked from the other side of the computer.
Yes, my coworker. I see my coworker at least once a week. I'm so glad to have Lauren Ellison working at Pike County R3 schools now, which is great. Travis, how was your weekend?
I worked all weekend.
Yeah, you did, making that overtime cash.
Yeah. Enough said. I was in Indiana all
Oh,
weekend, like 2 hours south, and
2 hours. So you're
yeah,
south of the city.
yeah, as well 2 hours from where I'm living. So I was doing like a 4 hour commute both days,
Oh
and just working dusk to dusk till dawn,
man, visiting the old Gary,
or dawn
Indiana
till
side of
dusk, I should
things, I
say.
guess, huh?
South of there.
Wow.
Yeah, Couts, Indiana. It's like a picture. It's like a Bowling Green.
Oh,
This tower was like this in the middle of a cornfield,
yes.
340 feet. It was great.
Travis, I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks ago. You sent us a picture on our group chat of where you were at, and I was just like, mm. We didn't mention though. 2 weeks ago, was it 2 weeks ago or a week ago that you were tower climbing on top of a Chicago school and you found the 9 millimeter slug in the or how?
Yeah. I was working in the ghetto of Chicago, unfortunately. And yeah, we're just working on a rooftop, and one of the coworkers like, dude, look what I just found. And literally that picture was how it was. There was a bullet like implanted into the roof. And we were talking to the building engineer there, and he's like, "Oh yeah," he's like, "They're all over the place." He's like, "One day I went up to fix the AC, and I wasn't even looking for them, and I found 345 rounds just in the roof." He's like, "I wasn't even looking for them; they were just there." It's like, and
Ye-
while we were working there, I didn't tell you guys this. That week there was two shootings during the day. Like one was like right in an alleyway right by the school. Like within minutes, there were six cop cars that pulled up and blocked off this whole alleyway. And there was another one just a couple blocks down the road. And like, dude, there's like kids out of recess while this is going on. It's like
Jeez.
just ridiculous.
Gun
Sad.
gun gun safe cities, baby. Right there. Gun free zones. That's how it's working
Yeah,
for you. But
yeah. It
no,
was
so
interesting.
we wanted to do a follow up. We've already got our topic for next week, so then that's going to be Sean and Travis's baby. I'm just going to, and hopefully we'll
We
get her.
may or may not have a guest for that one. I'm
We're hoping
waiting on it.
that our one of our other good buddies will be on for that one. But tonight we wanted to follow up with our midterm follow up show, and I called tonight's episode "Did the Red Wave Fizzle Out?" So many predictions about this election. Um, I'll start with you, Alex. Were you surprised, or were you expecting, what happened on the national level within the Senate and the House? Did you expect more, less, or what was your expectations going into this election? Do you think for Republicans?
I was very surprised, but of course, most of my expectations were based on what actual political pundits said,
Mm-hmm.
not so much my own, personal research. But yeah, I was surprised because just in general, you would expect the out of power party to make some gains in a midterm, especially with the way the economy is. You would sure think it's
Yeah,
going to go a lot different.
right.
But um, it looks like Republicans are going to pick up a little bit of ground, but not nearly the amount they thought. Actually, I think it's a net loss for Republicans.
Yeah, the news. I actually was wanting. We're not going to get into it tonight, but I was watching the news to see tonight about the whole thing that happened in Poland, and they actually let out with they had they officially, well, not officially, the news outlets are all calling that the Republicans have pretty much claimed the House, but was it 220 to 215, I believe, was the final breakdown what they're saying. And so you need 218 to have a majority. So I was expecting I was expecting a lot more going into this as well, because the news media, and this is one of the things that we're going to get into here in a second, but the news media really, I think they really missed the boat on this one, because I mean, it just goes to show you how wrong polling numbers can be. It goes to show you how much people rely and they read things totally wrong. But I was expecting, more, you know, from the Republicans, but it just didn't happen. Travis, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, we touched on it before. I was surprised but at the same time I wasn't. When we originally talked, I expected the Republicans to take the House by a little bit more of a margin. So I was surprised to see it as close as it was. Um, and the Senate, I was kind of unsure about, but I I want to go back to when we first started talking about the Roe v. versus Wade episode we had, and we were kind of talking about,
As the
we kind of
summer,
gave
yep.
our early predictions then.
Yeah.
I was
Oh,
like,
yeah, we
man,
did.
this could have, I think this could have, I remember, I don't know if it was me or Sean that said, like, I really think this is just one of the, not the deciding factor, but I think this decision is going to really affect what we thought the elections were going to be. I really thought that was going to be a turning point.
Yeah.
And I remember we called that out. And I think I'm not saying that was the whole deciding factor, but I think that definitely played a part in this election and what people went in voting for. Um, so again, I was surprised, but at the same time, I step back, and I'm like, well, I guess this kind of makes sense.
Well,
And I mean, there's other issues too, but
well, and I was reading more editorials in preparation for this show than I was actual news stuff. But a lot of the editorials, like I was reading, that where was it? It was saying basically moderate, and one of the places that really saw a lot of drop off was with moderate Republicans, because moderate Republicans were afraid. I think that from what some polls were showing, and again, we can't put total faith in polling, but the possibility of fear by moderate Republicans that stricter abortion laws would occur and would cause a further split, because when you look at a moderate, a true definition, I believe, and Alex, you can correct me if you think differently on this, but by definition, a moderate can, a moderate can go either way on many issues. And with Republicans, you have that group of Republicans who say, okay, we don't, and me being one of them, I don't like abortion as a means of birth control. Okay, I do not support abortion. I'm pretty much the guy who says, okay, due to health, due to life of the mother, life of the baby, whatever. Okay, but outside of that, but with that, some states have really started to crunch down, and I think some moderates were afraid that if we had state and federal Republican lockdown, that we were going to see a tighter crackdown on abortion laws. What do you think about that one, Alex?
Yeah, I mean that seems to be the overriding factor for why Republicans did so poorly. I've seen a few articles and several polls that seem to say it wasn't just moderate Republicans. Specifically, it was suburban women that left the Republican Party, voted Democrat this go round. We've seen it in states like Kansas back during their August election. Kansas, a very conservative state, had some, I don't remember the exact specifics, but some sort of abortion-related matter on the ballot, and people came out in droves and voted against it. And I think that indicates that ultimately, if a party's going to survive, it's got to have some sort of broad appeal. It's got to be able to get that 50% plus one. And so that might mean you have to compromise on some of your values. Does that mean you compromise on your core beliefs? No, but I think it's probably time for the Republican Party to either face reality, either look at making a change in your platform, or you're just going to be a minority party for the time being.
Foreseeable, yeah. And I found an interesting fact that since World War II, the movement toward the opposition party of the presidency has averaged gaining 26 seats, whether that be, combined Republican or House and Senate. Okay. And usually they gain 7 points in the national popular vote when the next election comes around. Okay. When the presidential approval rating of said opposition is below 50%, the shift tends to be greater historically. Okay? So the question that a lot of people are asking is, why didn't it happen? We had an unpopular president. Joe Biden's at 44% right now approval rating? 42, 44, somewhere in there. We are now officially in a recession. Okay. And, but what does it come down to? It comes down to a lot of things that and I saw this again and again and again and again, and a couple of them one of them was in a conservative news source that stated that Republicans have a blemished national image in a lot of people's eyes because of, we hate to keep on going back to January the 6th, but January the 6th is even if it was the far righters, the Proud Boys, the, what are they called, QAnon, all those guys, it's still going to come back to that event, I can't, there's a lot of things that, you guys said, women voters are the biggest in swing voters.
Yeah.
And why men, this is an interesting discussion that I've had with my students before. And tell me what you guys think about this. Men tend to vote loyally to a party. Statistics have shown party loyalty lines are stronger among men than they are women. Women, and we saw this in this election, women will take the time investigate, look at the issues, and they will vote on the issues. I mean, do you guys agree, disagree, or what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think women are issues based. So what it boils down to, whether it's abortion, whether it's in some cases it might be education, it might be crime, but women are issue based voters. I think men, for whatever reason, I'm not a psychologist, I couldn't begin to guess really, but for whatever reason, men seem to be more about winning rather than focused on issues.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that what Alex said, and also I would say, and again, I think it's a question of psychology, like you noted, but men maybe tend to vote more based on their morals and beliefs as opposed to maybe more of an ideology voting as opposed to like specific issue based, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of men who are very hard set and they're creatures of habit and they're going to continue to vote for a single party just because that's the party they've always voted for.
And the family's always voted for, and the boys at the
Yeah,
workplace always vote for.
yeah, and I'm thinking just specifically people I know and family. It tends to be men who are a little more, narrow-minded in it. But yeah, it's an interesting question for sure. I'd like to learn more about that.
Yeah, and so I mean, and I think that was the main headline from this election. Was the independent voters? Was the woman? That was the surprise. The surprise in all of this. And so,
Well, I think that, and I'd like to ask Alex this, and I think you were kind of leading into it. You were talking about January 6th, and we talked about this at our last episode. We pretty much all came to an agreement that something that could potentially really hurt Republicans was ties to Trump. And Alex, I'm curious if you listened to that episode, or if you didn't, what are your thoughts on? Do you think that Trump played a part in the Republicans not performing? Do you think that him back in the him back to doing the rallies and endorsing other Republican candidates and him throwing his bid out for 2024, do you think that negatively affected Republicans?
I think so. And because I think along with the abortion issue, the other big issue the big thing that Democrats were pushing was this idea of, I may not fully agree with their characterization, but they were pushing the idea of saving democracy this election, keeping election deniers out of Congress or keeping election deniers out of Secretary of State or governor positions.
Well, and that was an interesting polling point that they had. And again, we'll talk about the whole poll thing here in a little bit, but NBC did an exit poll of people who voted. 32% voted to oppose Biden, while 28% voted to oppose Trump. So, you can do with that whatever you want to. That's a pretty close margin, and then you have the rest of the people who actually voted on issues and voted on the candidates as it was. But one of the things that, candidates who had embraced positions by Trump earlier, they kind of wanted to distance themselves because he tended to put more ideas out there that were more outside the mainstream. Okay. And we're seeing that as Trump opens his mouth about stuff, and I haven't had a chance to watch tonight he announced officially at Mar-a-Lago that he is running for re-election, and of course I haven't been on social media since this morning, so I don't know. I haven't I haven't gotten the response yet, but is he kind of like I kind of want to go with what you're saying there, Alex. Is I think that he he's the albatross that is hanging around the Republican Party neck now because, when you listen to the stuff from the January 6th hearing of the actual video of Kevin McCarthy calling the president, trying to send messages to the president, man, you need to get you need to get these people out of here. Mitch McConnell, who still hasn't come back over to the Trump camp and who has said, I'm done with you. And so, and there's going to be, and I think there's going to be challenges to that leadership. I don't think McCarthy's going to be a shoe in for the Speaker of the House, even though he seems to be the next in line. And I honestly don't think Mitch McConnell is going to be is going to have a challenge as the minority leader in the Senate. So I mean, it depends on who's going to get in there. Are you going to get more Republican apologists, or are you going to get more Trump loyalists? I think is going to be the big question.
Yeah, I would agree. That's a good way of wording it, because obviously, I would say the Republican Party's pretty lost in a way. I don't know. It feels like they're just they're trying to find themselves as a party pretty much right now with the whole, like you said, your apologists or like your MAGA Trump, whatever you want to call those supporters. I don't know. I really think the Republican Party really needs to sit down and reevaluate everything. Who are we as a party? Who do we stand for? What do we stand for? What are our morals and values? What do the people that we represent want? I really think, and I think all politicians need to get back to that. What do our people want? What do we stand for? Not just winning, losing, no matter what the cost. It's all about the votes.
Alex, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree. And it's really scary for me about, one, I am a Republican, I am a conservative, but what's frightening for me at the national level is because we failed to take as many seats in Congress as we thought we would, we now have this very thin margin of majority, which only highlights those on the fringes as being more powerful. Because before, in the hypothetical where if we had a 30 or 40 seat lead in the House, the Lauren Boeberts and Marjorie Taylor Greenes of the world,
mm-hmm.
The speaker could just set them in a corner and forget about them for a couple of years. But now he needs their votes in order to get anything passed, because he's still going to need a majority. Every Democrat's going to vote against whatever the Republicans try to pass.
Yeah.
So you're going to be relying on Marjorie Taylor Greene vote yes on legislation. Well, if she's that deciding vote, she's going to milk it for all it's worth.
She's going, power grab, big time.
Yeah. So I think that's only going to make the Republican Party get even further into disarray. I think the best chance that the Republicans have is to hopefully a strong candidate for president emerges in the near future, and they unite behind that person, and maybe he or she will provide some clarity as to what our party platform really is.
Well, who do you think that is, Alex? Do you have any people you've been kind of paying attention to?
I think Ron DeSantis is an absolute juggernaut. If he wants the presidency, it's his. I think in 2024, he seems like a strong leader. Seems very principled in his conservative ideals, and seems to have none of the personal baggage that Donald Trump has.
Well, do you think that this announcement tonight? Well, I think you don't have to be the head oil change guy at Jiffy Lube to figure out that he waited to do this announcement in DeSantis's backyard. A week after the midterms. I think that already Trump is going into attack mode. I'm going to, if Ron DeSanctimonious, as he calls him, if Ron DeSanctimonious, I've got secrets I'm going to release on him. I've got things I'm going to release on him. And to me, Trump is already going into, he's already going into this mode of, I don't want to say bullying, but it's just like he wants to make DeSantis look to be, because he sees him as, like you said, Alex, DeSantis. To me, DeSantis is the new head of the Republican Party, whether he wants it or not. And people are looking. I think people are going to look to him as a sound choice for the Republicans, because he's going to bring. I hate to sound. I'm sounding like a Star Wars thing when I say this, but he's going to bring balance and order back to the Republican Party. And like you said, Travis, I mean, the Republican Party is in utter disarray right now.
Yeah.
Because they were expecting, you just saw, whatever, for whatever reason, Ted Cruz is still hanging on to Donald Trump's coattails. I thought Ted Cruz was smarter than that, but I mean, he's grasping on. Ted Cruz is just grasping on to Donald Trump's coattails, hoping that something, another breadcrumb will fall off the table and he'll, get another bite. But when you look at the Senate and the 20, what was it? It was the 30, was it 31 seats that were up for, and so they have officially declared as of, we still have, I mean, they haven't, there's still some states that are still a week later, 97% reporting. I still can't get over that. As I checked at 6:30 on Google. I just go to Google's election page, and so far there are 19. So for the Republicans, out of those there were 19 Senate wins and 7 losses. Okay, and those 7 losses were the key to not winning the majority. And when you look at where those losses were at. We know where Oz, okay? Oz, who was that guy in Arizona? Blake Masters. I can't think of the other guy's name. Walker. I can't remember. But all these guys, they were kind of criticized, I think, as kind of, I guess you could say, flawed standard bearers, maybe. They didn't, when you looked at Dr. Oz, I mean, when your sugar mama, Oprah Winfrey, doesn't even, give you the endorsement, she goes to Fetterman, a guy who, I'm like, okay, how ironic it is that Dr. Oz loses to a guy who suffers from conditions of a stroke.
Yeah, right.
I'm just
the irony.
The irony of that is just overwhelming. But, I think we have tell me what I have this general statement, and I think about this. There is a strong Republican sentiment, but there were a lot of weak candidates. Do you agree or disagree with that, Alex?
I agree. And I don't know why. I think there's a lot of factors. Moderates don't vote in primaries typically hardcore believers on either side that vote in primaries, but for whatever reason, it seems like the Democrats got it right in their primaries. I don't know what it is. I think a lot of it could be Donald Trump based, that maybe a lot of the sound, sane people out there who lean conservative, who would make good candidates for office, just don't want to be associated with that part of the party at this time. If he's still hanging around out there, so I don't know. But yeah, I'll like I can't believe Dr. Oz, who was nominated in Pennsylvania. I mean, at least Herschel Walker, at least he's like, George's favored son. Yeah. I'm not saying he was great either.
This is coming from a guy, and Travis and I saw this on the Jon Stewart mentioned this on his show last week. He's like, he was talking about policy issues, and he said like, well, Democrats don't have a policy. I've got the ideas, but I just don't want to reveal them right now because I'm afraid Democrats might steal them. And I'm like, and then and then he has this. Then he had another reporter. What was it, Travis? He said another reporter questioned him about, did was it true that you held a gun to a woman's head, and forced her to get an abortion? He said, yeah, but that was 14 years ago.
Yeah, that was 14 years ago.
14 years ago. Come on. But yeah, I mean, it's like Hollywood and sports want to get involved in the elections. I mean, heck, already Dwayne Johnson, right? Dwayne Johnson has said multiple times, that they've asked him directly, are you going to run for president? He's like, oh, hum ha, hum ha, hum ha. I'm going to be dad, and I'm going to be this, and I'm going to be that. Well, okay, maybe not in 2024, but how about 2028? And oh, hum ha, hum ha. And
yeah, you never know.
If Jesse Ventura, former WWE wrestling star Jesse Ventura, can be governor of Minnesota, and that guy was a walking, talking meme before memes were a thing. I mean, my brother lived in Minnesota during Jesse Ventura's entire gubernatorial reign, and he was like Donald. My brother describes him now as like Donald Trump light, because he was always saying, and this was before, and this, of course, he was governor before Twitter and Facebook was really a thing up in Minnesota. But I was just like, well, just imagine if he had Twitter and Facebook, he would have been, even more of an idiot. So it's, and I want to move on to this. Do you think, and I want the media factor, I want to get into a little bit of the media factor on this. And this was something else that was in this show that Travis and I watched. The media really made this, and I think the way that Jon Stewart put this was, they made it into a high stakes political simulation done by the media to do this whole, what do you want to say, make us feel like we're on the verge of civil war, that we're all going to go out, we're going to have mass abortion, we're going to have mass crime and all this other stuff. And I mean, really trying to hype the people up. What is your guys' take on that?
100%. We were talking about this before. The fear mongering of both sides has just been ridiculous. I mean, you go back to that Trump rally, and Alex, you were on. When we talked about that episode about saying things like, "Oh, the country's going to hell," and it's just everything's just a chaos, and we're gonna lose this country. And the amount of people I've seen on social media saying like, so much is at stake for this election. You have to get out and vote. Never mind what you believe in. Just vote for this party. You have to vote for this party. So much depends on it. The one video I shared with you, Andy, where a guy's like, a vote for Republican is the Christian thing to do. We have to do this. Like, just
that was on Instagram. I saw that. Yeah.
And I've seen it on both sides, and I really think a lot of people, whatever side of the spectrum they're on, I really think most people are seeing this for what it is, and that it's bullshit. Mm-hmm. And I really think I think more people are moderate than people let on to be. I really do think more people are moderate. And again, I think that's why we saw more people vote on issues that the media didn't see, or that the parties didn't really see them being the deciding factors. I really think the media and Republicans and a lot of politicians really missed the mark on what people actually wanted.
Alex, Alex, what do you think?
Yeah, I completely agree. I don't know how many times I've watched CNN or Fox News, well, particularly Fox News, but you see it on CNN too. you'll be watching Fox News. I'll be watching whatever the morning, Fox and Friends or whatever in the morning, and all of a sudden it pops in with Fox Alert. Some breaking news,
Yeah.
CNN breaking news alert, and it's just to tell us that Dr. Oz made a campaign stop this morning in Harrisburg or something. And just that little like subconscious tweaking of, hey, this thing we're about to tell you is the most important thing you'll hear all day. I think that really heightens it in people's minds. But that's just the subconscious stuff. Then you've got the overt stuff like Travis is talking about, where people are literally using terms like civil war or the end of democracy as we know it. And that goes, I think that
That was
majorly
a big
goes
one.
for Democrats. This was painted by a lot of people as if the Republicans take the House and the Senate, this is the end of democracy as we know it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that was going to be the case. I don't think the Republicans were going to institute a fascist authoritarian regime if they got into power. So the media is not helping. But I think unfortunately, and there may be no way to fix it, but unfortunately, when news becomes entertainment and entertainment is money, they have to up the stakes. Otherwise, we're going to stop watching. Fox News only sells ads if people are watching, and people are only going to watch if they think they are about to miss something really important.
Well, and they hang on every word. I can go. I know where I can go right now. And even if the restaurant is empty and they're closed, they still got the TV playing in the background, and Fox News is on there. And God bless our elderly population. I know I don't know about you guys, but I know a very few handful of people over the age of 75 who are Democrats. I personally cannot tell you. Yeah, even less than 5. Three. I can name 3. I can name 3 people I know over the age of 75 who are Democrats. And they're all on my wife's side of the family and the second, and people who live up there in Chicago, Travis. Those are the 3 that I know. They're all from Chicago. And, this whole thing, and I guess it's just a matter of where you live. And I'll bring this point up. As a side note, I didn't mention this in the opening, but this last week we had our youth and government program, the Missouri YMCA, along with there's 38 state YMCAs throughout the United States who do what's called it's youth and government. It's called kind of like your government simulation. Illinois has been doing it. My brother and I were talking about this last night. He did it when he was in high school, and it's a great opportunity for kids from the rural areas to interact with kids from the city areas. And we primarily see a lot of the kids who come to this conference, especially from St. Louis. Your St. Louis University High, your Correzus, the Westminster Academy, all of these high dollar academies coming in there, and then you have your other, Francis Howell and all these other, and you get this blend of kids, and our conservative kids get to go down there and interact with kids of the other side of the aisle. And it is refreshing to see some of these kids. I got to witness, so there was this girl from this one delegation that's near a neighboring district of ours, and she was very, the whole gender fluid thing, the whole, for women's rights to choose. And she was talking to a kid from SLU High, highly conservative, highly Catholic, highly everything. And what was refreshing to me was they had done this bill on abortion. It was on the floor of the mock Senate. and they were going back and forth. But it was kind, and it wasn't biting, it wasn't ugly. And at the end of the debate, after everything we were all clearing out of the room, and those guys were standing there you could just tell by their body language that they were relaxed. There was but they were just talking about, and it was refreshing to see, the next generation sitting there calmly talking about major issues. This is and that's the thing that I think is really concerns me is, social media. We talked about the media. I mean, we can get into this aspect of it too. I mean, social media makes us, unless you block these people out, which I've tried my hardest to do and I've done pretty good at it, but they make us know what the worst of us are feeling. You know what I'm saying? They make us know what the worst of us are feeling, and that's what's heard the most. Well, we're just so polarized, and we're just so this and we're so that, and it just seems like between the media and social media, these social media icons, it's like they're dividing America on purpose to win elections. I don't. Am I off in thinking that? Is that being a little bit over dramatic, or is that?
I would say yes and no. For example, have you seen that Netflix special, The Social Dilemma?
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Alex, did you see that one?
Yeah. Yep. I won.
Yes.
So,
jeez.
And I think I would agree. I think there is some intention there with polarization, but I also really think what plays a big part of it, and what they covered in that documentary, is how the algorithm works and getting people to interact on the website, and the more time that's spent consuming that content, the more profit or whatever is made. And so I think by making things more divisive, you're getting people consuming more. And I don't think like I said, I think there is some instances where there is a direct intention to divide, but I think a lot of it does go into the algorithm that a lot of these social media platforms are set for. And I think that's just one of the trade-offs or side effects of that, is that that divide, I should say, or that anger that comes from people. What are your all's thoughts?
Well, and I'm getting. Go ahead and talk, Alex, because I'm actually getting the link to this. I'm going to post this on our Facebook page right now, so people who are listening or people who are going to watch the podcast later on can grab this. So, go ahead, Alex.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious that social media companies are I don't know, are trying to ramp up the polarization. I don't know that we know exactly why they're doing it. I would assume it probably, again, much like the media, it makes them money. The more people are ramped up, the more people are glued to their phones, and the more ad revenue they can sell. But yeah, it's disheartening. It really is disheartening, both with social media and with traditional media. Really just disheartening that the American public can fall for that. I would have just hoped that we would have a little more ability to think for ourselves. But it's scary to show that, or to see that we're falling victim to this stuff. But yeah, it's just very disheartening that corporations out there, maybe there is some upside to Elon.
Oh, he froze on us. He froze up on it. Yeah, there he goes.
Mess with it.
So you kind of cut out on us there for a second, Alex. I mean, yeah, Elon Musk taking over Twitter will definitely be an interesting. He's in his first weekend. He's already banned. What was that? B-list celebrity, Kathy.
Mm.
I can't think. I
Um,
can see her face, red
I
hair.
remember. I remember reading about this though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I mean, so, but
But
when I look at, and I'm okay. So if you go to our Facebook page, I'm just posting this right now. And this is not just a little bit about this movie, The Social Dilemma. This is not a conspiracy theory film. I'm just going to put that disclaimer out there right now. This is, I would say, at least 40 to 50 former employees of Facebook, right? Who come out and is
I
like,
forget the number, but
yeah, it was just,
it was a lot of people that worked on the original algorithms and designed these websites.
yeah. And these guys, I mean, and then when Mark Zuckerberg goes before Congress, I mean, they show the footage of this in the movie. I mean, in short, basically saying that the AI has gotten so advanced that I mean, I mean, it's literally thinking and developing on its own. And the immediate thing that comes to my mind when I see this is, okay, Terminator and iRobot. Okay, two things that I don't want to happen.
Matrix.
The Matrix, oh
Yeah.
yes, definitely the Matrix. But
That'd be terrifying.
I mean, it's just amazing how much stock people put into media, into social media for their political views. And we confessed this last week, Alex. I don't know if you saw this or not, but Travis and I both confessed this last week, and Sean did too. We did not do our research as much as what we should have for this election. You know, if it's a local election and I'm still trying to I mean, I've known Chad Perkins for years. I mean, I know what kind of guy he is. We've had him on the show. We had him on the show last season. And I know, you know what you get. You vote for Chad Perkins, boom. But, you know, when it came to our senatorial candidates, when I went to the primary, I still wanted to make sure that Navy SEAL Eric Greitens, you know, didn't get, you know, wife beaten and all this other stuff.
Rhino hunter.
Yeah, rhino hunter.
Hunting rhinos. Hunting
So
rhinos.
we're gonna hunt rhinos, and but I honestly couldn't tell you, and I hate to say this because I preach this to my kids all the time. I honestly couldn't tell you anything about the candidates, and so I was like, okay, whose sign did I see more of in the yards? And to me, that's, unless they're Alex Ellison signs, then I go, okay, I know that guy. But, you know, so my point is, though, so what do people their go-to is what? Social media. Their go-to is, okay, what are the polls saying? I don't, and it's kind of like, I don't want to be on the losing side, so I'm going to check all the polls, and I want to make sure that I'm on the winning side. So I'm going to go with what the polls are going to go with. I mean, what are your guys' thoughts on that?
I tend to know quite a bit about the candidates, but that's because I'm very much a nerd when it comes to this kind of stuff. I mean, I was a political science major. You know, I get into this, yeah. But it's tough, especially, you know, even for this general election, we had 5 constitutional amendments on the ballot in Missouri. And outside of the pot amendment, I bet most people didn't know what any of the others really meant. And even with the pot amendment, it was like, it's like a 30-page document.
Really?
You know, you can't tell me that everybody read the 30 pages before they voted on it. And then you, at the end, if you remember, at the end of your ballot, you see the like 10 judicial candidates that you're just voting to retain them or not.
And if you don't retain them, then
most of those names, I'm a lawyer, and I've never heard of most of those names.
I only knew one name on the ballot, and that was Mylan Berry. That was the only one I knew. So
yeah.
Judge Barry is a great guy. So
yes, he is. Yes, he is. And so it was. You know, it's tough. And I don't know how you fixed it. I don't know if it's that I don't know if that's an inherently American thing. I don't know if other countries struggle with the same thing. But it's tough to know everybody on the ballot.
Did you? One thing I never did check to see did the push for the Missouri Constitutional Convention, did that pass or not?
No, it failed.
Okay, because I was just like, oh heck, well let's see history happen for the
Uh,
whatever the fit the
I
what
did
was
the
it?
same thing. I voted yes. I was like, I know this will be absolute chaos
I just
if this
wanted to.
happens.
I'd be like that meme of that guy just sitting there eating popcorn in the theater. I just want to sit there and just watch it happen, because we are currently operating under it's either 1946 or 1948 Missouri Constitution. I can't remember if it's 46 or 48, but that is the one that we have. So we had the one that admitted us into the Union. We had, I think we had two after the Civil War, and then the fourth one was after. Was in 1946, 48, whatever it was. So I was like, hey, why not? Let's just, And if you've ever looked at, I mean, the Missouri Constitution isn't like the U.S. Constitution 30-minute read. It's kind of like we get these from the Secretary of State every other year. They're a red book, and they're about yay thick, you know, which is nothing compared to RSMO. The Missouri Revised Standards, I think, takes up an entire freaking library. The website is just ridiculous on how long it is, but yeah, that was something else. One other thing I wanted to get at too, where you mentioned our local guys. What impact do you guys think of this is going to have with these key states that you mentioned? Now you mentioned Kansas, Alex, earlier as turning from red to blue, as far as which that hasn't happened in a long time in Kansas, but Arizona, Oregon, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Nevada. I don't know. I still don't know if they've decided Nevada, because Nevada was so close to calling the governor races. When you look at the whole picture, though, was out of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So 12 states had governor elections. Okay, Democrats took 9, Republicans took 3. So, what impact do you guys feel what kind of bearing is that going to have on this next election cycle, do you think?
Hmm. I, I really think Republicans lost a lot of momentum with this election.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be honest, unless are we talking federal, or are we talking like local
I
level
think
on this
I
question,
think
or
I
just
think
overall?
we need to look at
Because
just
right now, what I'm seeing, 100% if Trump tries to run, I don't see Republicans getting the presidency.
no.
I think that's totally going to split the Republican vote. And to me, people are going to be against that, and they're going to vote to not have him get in, whether they like the Democrat or not. I mean,
Well,
we saw that with Biden. It's not that people loved Biden, they just didn't like
they didn't
Trump, and
like
that's why
Trump.
Biden got the vote.
So yeah,
And
do you? I mean, the thing that I worry about more than anything else, and I've stated this on the show before, that if Trump does not get the nomination, he's going to pull a Teddy Roosevelt. He's going to up and walk out of the convention, and he's going to split the Republican Party wide open. That's my greatest fear right there. And whoever the Democrats have in there, I mean, you could throw Mickey Mouse in there and he'll win the election. You know, my
I
bigger
think that's
fear,
what we're going to see.
well, my bigger fear is going to be this. And we got two Missouri guys, and a former Illinois guy and a current Illinois guy. The person who's silently gaining strength in the Democratic Party is J.B. Pritzker of
He's
Illinois,
one of them.
Illinois
Yeah.
governor. I mean, what kind of concern should that be for the Republican Party, do you think, Alex?
Well, he's one of those. There's like 5 or 6 people out there floating around that are very strong candidates if Joe Biden doesn't run. You got J.B. Pritzker, who's on the rise. You got Gavin Newsom, the California governor, rise.
That's a big one.
I think one to watch out for, he's very impressive personally, is Governor Whitmer out of Michigan.
Yes.
The one, who had the failed kidnapping plot against her in 2020.
I forgot about that.
I did too.
There are a Pete Buttigieg also.
Yeah. Pete's still very relevant.
Yeah, I mean the Democrats have a deep bench, and I mean they could. I think any one of those candidates, or Joe Biden, or if Donald Trump splits the Republican Party, I think he, as unlikable as she is, I think Kamala Harris would be elected president. I think Hillary Clinton would be elected president if she ran.
They've been talking about that, having her run again.
The age factor, I think, is going to pay. The age factor eventually has to play into this. My wife and I were sitting there watching the news tonight, and out comes Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, and it looks like they were wheeling like a couple of out there and standing them up in front of the people. I mean, of course, I don't watch a lot. I read, and thanks to one of my students, Campbell Lindsay, who parents bring me in the Wall Street Journal. I read that this year, since she's gotten into my class as a freshman. I get the day after Wall Street Journal, and I'm now more than ever, I'm reading news. I'm getting more of my news from the newspaper than I am anything else. And so it's been a while since I've watched. And when they brought Nancy Pelosi out there tonight, I was just like, good God, her cheekbones are about ready to poke through her skin. I mean, and I don't mean that as a slam, but I'm just like, the woman, I think she's 82. Joe Biden's 78. Chuck Schumer is in his late 70s. Kevin McCarthy's considered a young pup in the 50s. Yeah. I mean, at one point, and that's another thing. That's the last thing I wanted to point out from that Jon Stewart thing, Travis, was that they really underestimate another group, not only women, but new voters. Yeah. Young new voters. And this is a demographic that really hasn't been sought after, I would say, since the 2000 election with Al Gore. Al Gore did like 2 or 3 town hall meetings on it. I remember him doing them on MTV. I remember recording them and playing them in class, and the kids in my class at the time were just like, this guy's a clown, because he was trying to appeal to younger voters. But this young demographic, and like I said, being at YAG this week, there are those kids there's some kids who don't give a rip. Just give me my paycheck, give me my, my can of Busch Light, and let me sit down and watch my evening episode of Pornhub and go to sleep. I mean, but yet you still have some of those kids who are, and I spoke to a group of kids this weekend. I just said, you guys are the future. You guys are the ones who have to finish up and fix up this crap show that we've created, my generation, the generations before us. So,
yeah, it would be nice to see a younger generation enter into politics. I really think it's what the country needs overall. Is we just need some fresh blood, and we need new people. It's like
the candidate that you say that the candidate from, I gotta look up this guy. It is officially the youngest guy ever elected to Congress. He's 25 years old because 25 years old is the age requirement for candidates. Representative, but he actually won his seat. What was his name? But he was from Florida, and I was really surprised to see. I was encouraged to see that. Let's see, where was he from? Maxwell Frost. So this is he was 25. He's the first will be the first Gen Z member of Congress. Progressive activist Maxwell Alejandro Frost will officially become first Gen Z member of Congress after winning his race to Florida's 10th district, and he's central Florida. Frost defeated Republican Calvin Wimbish, age 72, a retired Army Green Beret and conservative activist. Okay.
I'm reading here he's playing a big role in unions improving healthcare, housing, and wages, which I think those are big. I would say that's more in line and more in touch with the people. I think those issues are really, especially the younger generation. I think those are big things right now.
Yeah, and they said he was a top organizer for March for Our Lives, the anti-gun violence group formed in response to the Parkland school shooting in 2018. He centered his campaign around issues especially important to young voters: ending gun violence, addressing climate change, protecting abortion rights, and supporting Medicare for all. He actually, I not knowing, I would love to have seen what that 72-year-old guy's response was to him. Well, look at this young kid, But I mean, Alex, how old were you when you first ran for prosecuting attorney?
So I was 27 when I got elected.
So, yeah. What are the, other than having a law degree, what were the other requirements for being prosecuting attorney?
That's pretty much it. I mean, other than having to, you have to live in your county. That's pretty much it. So, it doesn't take a whole lot.
Well, and I know Chad Perkins is in his 30s. I think he's in his mid 30s as well. But
Ron DeSantis is 44 years old.
He's younger than me. Wow.
I think that's a great age.
You want to talk about young blood? Ron DeSantis has the young blood.
Ron, my brother.
That's unfortunate. I agree with Alex. I really, I'm not 100% on board with him, but like some of the stuff I've seen him, he seems like a pretty good candidate for president.
Well, and he, I'm just curious. I want to see the stuff that Trump says he's going to roll out of the closet on DeSantis.
Yeah.
I mean,
I remember seeing that.
It is what it is. But come what may, and I can honestly say this, and I'm confident in this fact. I was also confident back in the election 2020, but we did see democracy carried out. The will of the people did occur. Even though I was reading yesterday that Donald Trump is already contemplating lawsuits in Arizona and Pennsylvania, saying that those elections were rigged, of course. And what's weird about it is neither one of those candidates are even saying anything. They're just like, yeah, I lost. I lost. So, something to keep your eye on. Something to keep our eye on. Anything else? Gentlemen, we're at the end of our time. That went fast.
It always does. Alex, thanks for coming on, man. We really appreciate it. We always like your insight on things, and congratulations again on getting reelected.
Yeah. Yes, yeah.
Yeah, you're welcome. And I do want to say, earlier we were talking about, Dwayne Johnson maybe running for president. I will say, if anybody named Dwayne is going to be elected president, it better be President Dwayne Elizondo Mountain Dew Camacho. Might have had to see Idiocracy.
Oh my gosh. That's a great reference. That is a great reference. Yeah. Everybody else go out and look it up. You'll get it. So anyway, thank you, Alex, for joining us. Please join us again next week. We're going to be, like we said, we're going to be talking stuff that's out of my wheelhouse. I'm going to actually sit back and let Sean and Travis drive next week. So, and I know it's more Travis. Travis is Mr. Investopedia.
This is a topic I've been wanting to touch on for a while now, and now we
and
have a
I'm
lot of news that's given us a reason to really hit on it.
and
So
you guys are going to educate me next week. I'm going to do some light reading. I know Travis throughout the week will probably be sending me stuff, but definitely want to tune in next week. So please share us. I've kind of got some ideas tossing around for next year. We're episode 34. So we're getting close to wrapping up another season. We're only 18 weeks away from season 2 wrapping up. It's hard to believe that. But
it is hard to believe.
it is because of you guys. Please share. I was looking last week too. I know I'm rambling a lot, but I was looking last week at our demographics. We picked up new listeners in two new foreign countries last week, which I still am baffled at how that happens. But thank you for our foreign friends who are listening to us wherever you are. Please share. Please share the podcast. Please share. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to us on YouTube. One of our goals that we have, as we were talking about, becoming bigger influencers on YouTube requires us to get 1,000 subscribers, and we're at 40. So we need 960 new subscribers on YouTube. If you're not following us on YouTube, please head over to our YouTube page and subscribe for us there, and share us, and click the like button and all that good stuff over there too. For Travis Kirkendall and Alex Ellison and our absent Sean Phillips, we want to wish you a great week, and we'll see you next time.